Yeah, all three of my children are older now, and I'm learning something by watching my children, and I'm learning something by being online ever since I started my podcast. And this is my theory: our lives are too easy, and the reason I say that is because many people are crying about things that are really not that bad. We're crying about things that are life, normal stuff, and I really believe our lives are too easy. Even when I look at all the online preachers, they're talking about relationships now. These online pastors are preaching on Sundays about feelings. They turn their churches into therapy centers. Why are they doing that? Because our lives are too easy. Everybody's crying about feelings. Women are crying about emotional safety. Men are crying about not being able to cry when we were teenagers. I'm a little boy. I got feelings. I've never been able to express my feelings. Why? Because our lives are too easy. I think we need to create lives that have meaning and purpose. I think we should be focusing on serving God to the ultimate capacity. We need missions that are bigger than our feelings, and then we'll stop crying about things that don't really matter. How are we going to build the kingdom of God if you're upset that your father didn't hug you when you were 10 years old? What did the men do 50 years ago? What did the men do 100 years ago? What were the women doing 100 years ago? We were serving God, and our souls were so big, our spirits were so strong, people were not crying over basic feelings. They were working on farms. Nobody cares about your feelings at 5 in the morning when you got to milk that cow. Now, I'm not saying this to be judgmental, and I'm not saying this because I lack sympathy. I know what pain feels like, trust me. I know what pain feels like. But I also know what the mission in life is supposed to be. And I also know God is so big that I shouldn't be crying over things that happened 20 years ago. I think a lot of us are being distracted by this new idol called feelings and emotions. And because of the distraction of our feelings, we're not doing what God called us to do. And now everybody just wants therapy. Everybody's crying about counseling. Women are leaving men because they're not emotionally safe. That man bought you a house, bought you a car. That man works every day. You have 3 meals, but you're upset with him because of your feelings. And then we have men cheating on their wives because they don't feel safe enough to share their secrets. That's because our lives are too easy. Our parents and grandparents were in poverty, and that pain brought them closer together. Now our prosperity is separating us because our lives are too easy. That's my theory. I think our lives are too easy. I think we need to get back with God and find something in our lives that is so big. We need to be on these missions that are so big that we stop crying over how we feel. And we have so much time that we're listening to this emotional music and watching anxiety-driven TV and watching these stupid movies that are all about pain, trauma, and drama. All these mental health movies with these crazy black women and these crazy black men. I'm not even going to talk about the rainbow stuff. But we have so much time that we're consuming all of this anxiety-driven media that everybody's crying about their feelings, but we're accomplishing nothing in our real life. And I don't believe God's happy. Because you cannot change the world crying about your feelings. When your feelings become an idol, you become unstable. Your marriage is unstable, your household is unstable, and now the kids are unstable because everybody's worrying about their feelings. That's a problem.